Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge of a precipice, staring into the unknown, wondering what comes next? We've all been there, trapped between where we've been and where we want to go, with no clear road ahead. Life's uncertainty can be difficult to bear. Yet, in the middle of all the doubts, one reality remains constant. God knows what comes next for you. Life does not come with a roadmap. We frequently find ourselves wandering through seasons when the future is uncertain, where we don't know what awaits us just around the corner. Uncertainty about what lies ahead may be unnerving, even debilitating. We spend so much time attempting to forecast what will happen, planning every detail, and controlling our destiny. But allow me to remind you of something significant today. You don't need to know everything. It's acceptable not to have all the answers. It's all right to venture into the unknown while yet believing that God has your back. We spend so much time thinking about what comes next that we overlook one crucial aspect. God isn't startled by your doubt. Life's twists and turns do not surprise him. The unknown is not a source of worry. When we comprehend that God knows exactly what is going to happen to us, he can demonstrate his strength, wisdom, and timing. Think about it. How many times in your life has God guided you through something you didn't understand at the time, only to later realize it was precisely what you needed? When you're not sure what comes next, realize that God does. And the best thing we can do in these circumstances is believe that he is already ahead of us, paving the road. Allow me to tell you something powerful. The unknown isn't your adversary. We frequently believe that uncertainty should be avoided since it interferes with our tranquility, pleasure, and success. But what if I told you that the one thing we dread the most, ambiguity, is precisely where God's majesty shines brightest? We are all predisposed to crave assurance. We want to know what happens next. We want to have control. We want the plan spelled out in front of us. But God doesn't operate that way. He does not require you to have all the answers. He just wants you to trust him when you don't have them. In times of uncertainty, we grow. When we don't know what comes next, our faith is tested and refined. The instant we let go of our desire for control and welcome the uncertainty, we allow God to work in ways we never imagined. God specializes in the unknown. He doesn't require us to see the entire picture. He simply requires us to take the next step with faith, even if we cannot see the next mile. Do you recall the tale of Abraham? God instructed him to leave everything behind. He left his family, his home, and his security to travel to a region he had never visited before, a place he knew nothing about. Can you imagine how uncertain he must have felt? Yet Abraham walked out, not because he knew what was coming, but because he knew who was guiding him. And God did not disappoint. The uncertainty becomes a stepping stone to God's promises. So, today, do not be terrified of uncertainty. Accept it because, in that place of not knowing, God is waiting to reveal himself to you in a way that will revolutionize your life. Accept the uncertainty with the assurance that the person who holds your future is never lost. You may be sitting here now feeling as though life is a jigsaw with too many missing parts. You can't see the complete picture, and it's irritating not to know how everything comes together. But allow me to tell you something profound. God has a plan for you, and it is bigger than anything you could ever create for yourself. It's easy to become caught up in the world's noise, deadlines, demands, and expectations. We begin to assume that if we don't have everything figured out right away, we've somehow missed the target. However, trusting God's plan entails resting in the awareness that he has already planned your destiny, even if you cannot see it. The fact is that God's plan does not need your knowledge. It demands your obedience. We want to know every detail, yet God invites us to take the next step with trust even when we can't see what lies ahead. Think about Joseph from the Bible. His journey was marked by treachery, prison term, and heartbreak. God, however, was crafting a plan in Joseph's life that he was unaware of at the time. It wasn't until the perfect time that Joseph was able to look back and find a significance in his sorrow and hardships. So now, I want you to understand that your life is not a random sequence of events. God has already written the tale and is leading you every step of the way. Trust that even when things don't make sense, his plan is still unfolding and guiding you to higher heights than you could have imagined. How many times have you asked yourself, why is this happening now? Why am I still waiting? We frequently struggle with God's timing because it does not match ours. We want answers now. We want improvement right now. But God works on a different timeline than we do. But allow me to remind you of something now. God's timing is always perfect, even when we don't understand it. We are frequently impatient, hurrying through life, hoping to reach the next stage, level, or breakthrough. But God's timing is not hastened. It's exact. It's deliberate. It is deliberate. Every delay, stop, and waiting season has a purpose. And what appears to be a setback in your life may be God's method of preparing you for something far greater than you can conceive. Think about David's tale. When God crowned him as king, he did not immediately assume the throne. Instead, he spent years fleeing, hiding, waging battles, and learning to trust God in ways he could not have predicted. David's wait season was not a punishment. It was a preparation. God was shaping his character, strengthening his faith, and instilling the toughness he would require to manage the nation. So, if you're waiting today for a breakthrough, a door to open, or a shift to occur, remember this. God's delay does not constitute a denial. It's an indication that he's at work in your life, getting you ready for what comes next. You are exactly where you need to be. And when the time comes, he will open doors that no one can close. Trust in God's perfect timing because he is never late. He is always on time. How often do we find ourselves praying, asking God for something particular, confident that we know precisely what we need? Perhaps it is a job, a relationship, financial security, or healing. We make our petitions, trusting that God would fulfill them. But what happens when God does not respond as we expect, or when he says no? But here's the truth. God understands your needs better than you do. He sees things you can't see and understands what you really need in ways that are much beyond your own comprehension. Sometimes we believe we know what is best for us, but God, in his vast knowledge, understands what we require at the proper moment. In the Bible, Jesus says that if we, as humans, know how to provide nice presents to our children, how much more would our Heavenly Father provide us with what we genuinely need? The main point here is that God provides us what we need, not necessarily what we want. It's easy to get caught up in wanting things that we believe would satisfy us. Things that may appear wonderful in the time, but may not be the greatest for our growth and future. Consider the example of the Apostle Paul. He requested God to remove the thorn in his flesh, which was causing him great anguish. But God did not erase it. Instead, Christ reminded Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." In Corinthians 12:12. In other words, what Paul perceived as a necessity was not always what he needed most. He definitely needed to feel God's power in his helplessness. When you feel like God isn't responding to your prayers in the way you expected, remember that he knows precisely what you need. Sometimes the things withheld from us are not denials. They are divine protection. Believe that God views your needs from an eternal perspective, and that his supply will always be perfectly aligned with your purpose. God will present you with exactly what you need at the right time. When you're going through a period of uncertainty, it's easy to feel trapped or as if nothing is happening. You may be wondering why your breakthrough hasn't happened yet, why your prayers appear unanswered, or why things are moving slower than you expected. But here's the reality. God is preparing you for blessings that you cannot comprehend right now. What you see as waiting is in fact divine preparation. God never wastes a season. Every minute of waiting, every obstacle, and every setback is part of his strategy to prepare you for what comes next. You may not realize it at the time, but each step you take prepares you for the rewards God has in store. Think about the Israelites. They wandered in the desert for 40 years, not because God had abandoned them, but because he was preparing them to reach the promised land. The desert experience, however harsh, was important for them to grow in faith, trust on God, and be prepared for the bounty that was to come. The promised land was waiting for them, but they needed to prepare for it. Your benefits may be right around the corner, but God will only release them if you are willing to manage them correctly. God doesn't just bless you, he prepares you for them. He may be developing your character, teaching you patience, or polishing your heart before allowing you to enter the next season. The invisible benefits are being constructed while you go through the unknown, so don't give up in the waiting. God is at work in ways you cannot perceive. He is influencing your destiny, even if you don't realize it. And when the time comes, he will shower you with blessings beyond your wildest dreams. Continue to believe and progress because your preparation is setting you for the upcoming breakthrough. When we choose trust over fear, something tremendous occurs. Fear seeks to immobilize you, make you wonder your future, doubt your purpose, and second-guess every choice you make. Fear will try to convince you that the unknown is too perilous and dangerous, and that you are unprepared for what lies ahead. However, faith does more than just accept the unknown. It enters it with confidence, knowing that God is already present. Let's get genuine. Fear is normal. It is natural to be fearful of what you cannot see, to be concerned about what you cannot control. But here's the key. Fear is a lie. Fear tells you that you are insufficient, that you will fail, and that you are too tiny to face the task. However, faith reminds you that God is sufficient, that He has already gone before you, and that you can accomplish all things through Christ who strengthens you. Think of Peter walking on water. He got out of the boat in the midst of a storm. Despite what appeared to be an insurmountable scenario, his faith kept him on the water. But the instant he let dread overcome him, he began to plummet. Faith keeps you afloat, whereas fear drowns you. To proceed, you do not need to know what comes next. What you need to do is walk out in faith, knowing that God is right there with you, even in the unknown. Fear will constantly attempt to convince you that you are not prepared or competent, but faith will tell you that with God, you are more than adequate for whatever comes next. The dread of the unknown might hold you back, but confidence in the one who holds your destiny can urge you ahead, even when you can't see the whole picture. Today, choose trust over fear. Step into the unknown with confidence, knowing that God has already prepared the path. Don't allow fear to dominate your actions. Allow trust to lead you to the breakthrough that awaits. There are times in life when you may be unsure about where you are going. You may look at your situation and question if you are on the correct track or if you have lost an opportunity. It's easy to feel lost when the path ahead seems unclear, but let me assure you today that your destiny is safe in God's hands. You're not here by chance. God did not design you for random situations or meaningless wanderings. He knew you from the beginning. Even when you can't see it, your purpose, destiny, and the unique abilities and talents He created within you are unfolding in accordance with God's perfect plan. Think about Esther. She was simply an average teenager in an exceptional position, confronting seemingly insurmountable problems and concerns. Despite this, God had a purpose for her, to save her people. Esther was first unaware of her role, but when it was revealed, she rose to the occasion. Her mission was solid, even though she didn't completely comprehend it. Your purpose is also safe. It is independent of your circumstances, faults, or uncertainties. It is based on the reality that God has already planned excellent things for you to complete. According to Ephesians 2:10, you may not know all of the steps ahead, but believe that the actions you take today will lead you to completing God's plan for you. Don't let misunderstanding or disappointments convince you that your goal has been lost or postponed. God's plan for you is unshakable. He is working behind the scenes, organizing events and aligning chances to get you to the point where your mission may be completely fulfilled. Trust that in any season of uncertainty. So remain steadfast today, knowing that the job you're doing, even while waiting, is all part of God's broader plan for you. You are precisely where you should be, and nothing can take away the purpose God has already set for your life. Change. It is one of the most scary terms in the human language. The prospect of embarking on something new and unexpected might elicit feelings of anxiety and uncertainty. We are creatures of habit, and when things are familiar, we resist change. But I need you to hear it today. Change isn't your adversary. It serves as a catalyst for your own progress. God does not allow change in our life just for the sake of shaking things up. He utilizes change to get us ready for larger things. When God changes your circumstances, it does not mean that something is wrong. It indicates that something fresh and better is on the horizon. You may not see it now, but God knows precisely what He is doing. The change you are frightened of is frequently exactly what you need to get to the next level. Look at Abraham again. When God summoned Abraham to leave everything behind and travel to a foreign region, he had no idea where he was going or what awaited him, but he trusted that God was bringing him to something higher. Change was the gateway to the promise. When faced with change, the temptation is to cling to what is familiar and safe. But God frequently invites us to venture into the unknown because that is where trust thrives. That is where His might is exposed, and where fresh opportunities and blessings will arise. Don't be scared to let go of the previous season. The new one will offer fresh strength, knowledge, and rewards. Change is not easy. It can be unpleasant and even painful. But if you believe God is directing you, you may be confident that He would never bring you to a position where there is no purpose. Accept the change, walk out in confidence, and trust that God is using this opportunity to prepare you for something bigger than you can imagine. Do not be terrified of what comes next. God is already there, waiting for you. So many of us believe that our current circumstances determine our future. We look at where we are right now, whether it be a struggle, a setback, or a waiting period, and we begin to feel that this is all there is to life. But hear me clearly now. Your present does not determine your future. Just because you are experiencing difficulties today does not guarantee that this will always be the case. Just because you are going through a difficult time right now does not imply you will remain there forever. God is in the business of changing things around. He specializes in taking seemingly hopeless situations and bringing them to life in ways you cannot comprehend. Think about Joseph. He was deceived by his siblings, sold into slavery, unjustly charged, and imprisoned. His current circumstances was grim, but Joseph did not stay there. He trusted that his current situation was not his last destination. What happened? God utilized such events to prepare him for greatness. Joseph traveled from jail to the palace, and God used him to save a whole country. His present did not determine his future. God did. Remember this today, regardless of what you're going through. Your future is in God's hands. Your circumstances may attempt to teach you one thing, but God's plan reveals something far better. You're not stuck. You are being positioned, prepared, and formed to fulfill God's destiny for you. Your current reality is only the beginning, not the finish, so don't assume that where you are now is where you will always be. God is moving you ahead. Your present is only a chapter in the book. It is not the entire tale. Keep moving forward, for the greatest is yet to come. Your future is brighter than you realize, and God is already working behind the scenes to lead you to a position of plenty, serenity, and purpose. Don't let today's difficulties convince you that your opportunities are restricted. Your future is infinite with God. Perseverance is often ignored in a culture that expects rapid results and quick cures. Perseverance, however, is essential for discovering what God has in store for you. It's easy to start something and be passionate while things are going well, but true progress and breakthroughs occur when you keep pushing forward, even when it appears that nothing is happening. God is concerned not just with the final destination, but also with what occurs along the way. Every step you take, even if it feels like you're not making progress, is part of His perfect plan. Perseverance is more than simply weathering difficult circumstances. It is about allowing God to purify you while you wait, suffer, and go through the process. Consider the narrative of the Apostle Paul. He did not have a smooth voyage. He was shipwrecked, arrested, assaulted, and insulted. Despite everything, he persevered. Why? Because he knew God was working in and through him, even at the most difficult times. And Paul's tenacity resulted in a mighty ministry that extended to the ends of the globe. If he had quit halfway through, we would not have the letters, encouragement, and teachings that we cherish today. Perseverance implies continuing to go forward even when things are difficult. It implies you don't quit up when the promises seem far or the effort appears insurmountable. Perseverance means believing that God is not finished with you yet. He is still working, developing you, and preparing you for the upcoming breakthrough. So, when you feel like giving up, when the weight of the road seems too great, tell yourself that your perseverance will pay off. God is working in ways you cannot see, and each step of trust you take prepares you for the future He has promised. Keep going. Continue to trust, because the reward for patience always outweighs the hardship. God praises those who never give up. We live in a world that encourages us to take control, plan every detail, and manage every result. We think that if we grasp onto the reins of our life, we can guide our destiny in the direction we choose. But I'm here to tell you something that could make you uncomfortable. True peace comes from letting up of control and following God's guidance. The reality is, you were never designed to bear the burden of control. It's taxing, stressful, and eventually leads to frustration. We may think we have control, but we don't. Life occurs. Things change. Let us look at Abraham's example again. God asked him to abandon everything he knew and follow him into the unknown. Abraham didn't have a map, a clear strategy, or any promises about what lay ahead. But he did have trust. He let up of his desire to control the result and followed God's guidance. By letting go, Abraham entered into the greatest gifts of his life. When you give up control, you open yourself up to God's perfect will, timing, and purpose. Control provides a false sense of security. It makes us feel comfortable, but the fact is that God's security is far superior than anything we can devise for ourselves. He carries your future, direction, and destiny in his hands. When you let go and trust him, you are saying, God, I believe you know what is best for me even when I cannot see it. So, today, let go of your demand for control. Give up your goals, concerns, and anxieties, and trust that God will lead you where you need to go. Let go of the weight that isn't yours to bear and watch God work in ways you couldn't have planned on your own. He has everything under control. All you have to do is follow his lead. Have you ever found yourself dreaming big, wondering about the future, and picturing the best that life has to offer? Despite our greatest efforts, God's intentions for us are always larger, grander, and more magnificent than we can fathom. We might become so focused on our own aspirations that we lose sight of God's grand vision for our life. Here's the thing. Our dreams are constrained by our experiences, knowledge, and vision. But God sees the entire picture. He understands what you need. He understands how much you can bear. And he understands what will bring honor to his name via your life. What you consider impossible is nothing to God. He can do more in a single instant than we could in a lifetime of striving. Think about Joseph's narrative again. As a young child, Joseph had enormous goals. He had a fantasy that his family would submit to him. But God had larger plans for Joseph than he had imagined. What Joseph didn't realize at the time was that God was preparing him to save a country and become second in charge of Egypt. Joseph's dreams were only the beginning of what God had planned for him. God had a far grander plan than Joseph could have dreamed. Similarly, your ideas may appear large to you, but God's plans are far bigger. He has a purpose for you that you don't understand. The Bible states in Ephesians 3:20, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to the power that is at work within us." If you could see the wonderful future God has already planned for you, it would astound you. You may not comprehend it right now, but believe that God is leading you somewhere you never thought possible. Places that will draw you closer to him and accomplish his larger plan for your life. So remember this the next time you have a huge dream. God has much larger dreams for you. His intentions for you are far beyond anything you could ask or anticipate. Trust him. Surrender your plans and believe that the greatest is yet to come. One of the most common anxieties we have in life is being alone, especially when we are going through unknown or frightening situations. It's easy to feel alone, navigating the unknown with no one to lean on or encourage you. But hear me clearly now. You're never alone in the unknown. God guarantees in his word that he will never abandon or forsake you. That implies you are not alone in every moment of doubt, in every season of waiting, or in every move toward the future. God is by you every step of the journey. Think about the narrative of Moses. When God summoned Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, he was overwhelmed. He questioned his own capabilities, worthiness, and credentials. But God did not allow Moses to sort things out on his own. God said, "I will be with you." Exodus 3:12. When Moses was in the desert, the route ahead appeared difficult, yet God was right there guiding him, providing for him, and taking him to the promised land. And as God was with Moses, he is with you. When you face life's problems, when you stand on the verge of the unknown, don't ever believe that God has abandoned you. He is right there with you, providing you with love, strength, and wisdom. God knows what is ahead for you, and he will prepare you for each step along the road. When you feel lonely, when the path ahead appears uncertain, and anxiety rises up to convince you that you're on your own, remember that God is with you. You're not going into the unknown alone. You have a tremendous God who walks with you, guides you, and will never desert you. Trust that you are safe in his company and lean into that fact. He has already walked ahead to pave the road, and he will accompany you throughout the voyage. When life feels unpredictable, when you don't know what's going to happen next, and the route ahead appears murky, it's easy to lose hope. But hope is the anchor that holds your spirit stable during life's storms. And God's promises are your greatest source of hope. You see, God's promises are not conditional on your situation. They are unaffected by the ebb and flow of existence. His promises are everlasting, steadfast, and strong. When you place your faith in what He has promised, you are connected to something far higher than your transient feelings or circumstances. You are anchored in God's truth. The Bible has several examples of God fulfilling His promises in ways that were inconceivable at the time. Abraham, Sarah, Noah, and David all experienced periods of doubt when they couldn't predict how things would turn out. They hung on to God's promises, believing that God is trustworthy and will do what He says. Consider the narrative of the Israelites. They were enslaved in Egypt, mistreated and apparently forgotten, yet God vowed to free them. Even if their existing circumstances made it appear unattainable, God's promise of rescue was more powerful than their actual reality. He split the Red Sea, guided them through the desert, and brought them to the land He promised. Today, you may be unable to see the route ahead. You may be in a period of waiting where the next move is unknown. But God's promises are still valid. He vows never to abandon you, to lead you, to care for you, and to offer you a future full of hope, no matter how bad your circumstances are. Remember that God is true to His promises. So, whatever you're going through now, don't give up hope. Hope in God's promises is not only wishful thinking. It is a confident anticipation that God's word will be fulfilled in your life. He understands what is ahead for you, and He is committed to seeing it through. Your future is safe in His hands. Keep your trust in His promises, since the greatest is yet to come. I want you to take a time to reflect on where you are in life right now. Perhaps you are confronting uncertainty. Perhaps you are at a crossroads. Perhaps you are simply waiting. It's easy to become overwhelmed and feel as if you're going blindly through life, ignorant of what lies ahead. But I want to remind you of something that will shift your outlook today. God knows exactly what comes next for you. You might not have all of the answers, and that's fine, but you've got something better. You have a God who knows the finish from the start, a God whose designs are larger than yours, a God who walks with you, guides you, and prepares you for what is ahead. Remember this when your life feels uncertain. God is operating behind the scenes. You are not alone in the unknown, and you do not have to figure everything out on your own. His timing is impeccable. His plans are perfect, and His love for you is unshakable. Every hardship, setback, and season of waiting does not imply that God has forgotten you. It indicates that He is preparing you for something higher. He is perfecting you, increasing your trust, and preparing you for the benefits He has for you. You may not see it right now, but God is working in ways you may not yet comprehend. So let go of your fears and doubts, and believe that God's promises are genuine. You are on a journey, and while you may not know every step ahead, you may be confident that God does. His intentions for you are greater than you can fathom, and the greatest is still to come. Continue to walk with faith, even when you can't see the route ahead. God knows what's ahead for you, and His plans for your life include purpose, peace, and a greater future than you can imagine. Finally, no matter where you are today, know that your tomorrow is in God's hands. He knows what's next for you, and if you put your confidence in Him, He'll take you places you never thought imaginable. Maintain your trust and hope, and be certain that your future is in His capable hands.